Hello, I'm Hannah and I'm married to Tom, and we have two little girls who are 5 years old and 2 years old. We are new to Holy Trinity. We moved here 5 weeks before lockdown from Sheffield, so it's been an interesting few months for us. I'm really happy to be able to share with you today a little bit about how I became a Christian. I grew up attending Sunday school at my village church each week, and throughout my childhood and as a teenager, I always believed there was a God and would occasionally pray. Yet as I grew up, Christianity felt more and more like an outdated set of religious rules that was required of me, and I couldn't see how it had any relevance to my life. Instead, I set my mind and my energies firmly on my education and my future career, and I became very competitive and focused on achievement. I worked really hard and I partied hard, and it was just such an exhausting way of living, and it left me anxious and continually striving for more. However, God was very, very gracious to me, and when I arrived at my halls of residence at university, I ended up living in a room next to a committed Christian, to a girl called Jo. Before I knew it, on my first Sunday, she'd whisked me along to church, and the service just had such a big impact on me that first week. It was a Bible teaching church with a large student ministry, and during my first year there, I heard the gospel clearly explained to me for the first time. It was like the penny had dropped. I realised that I was sinful and would never be good enough for God, no matter how hard I tried, how many good works I did or rules I kept. And it was liberating to discover that it was only through Jesus' death and resurrection that I could be saved. I was also deeply struck during that first year by the other Christian students and how they lived out the Bible with such integrity, purpose and joy, and how they patiently encouraged me to do the same. My housemate Jo and I became best friends, and 16 years later we are now godparents to one another's children and are still spurring one another on in our faith. Since becoming a Christian, my life now has a secure and firm foundation, as well as a future hope to look forward to in eternity, knowing that I am loved as a child of God. And one of my favourite Bible verses that Tom and I had read at our wedding, and which I've returned to often, is from 1 John chapter 4, verses 9 to 11. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him. This is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. These reminders of God's love, sovereignty and sacrifice for us have been such a comfort during lockdown, which, like for so many of you, have been a challenging time. I've been busy at home unpacking the moving boxes, settling into our new village and caring for our two little girls, and Tom has been working at the hospital throughout the pandemic. These past few months have definitely reminded me that we truly are not in control of our world and life plans, and that death and suffering is a reality which we must all face. Yet through the highs and lows, I've been able to rejoice in and rely on our mighty God, our rock and our Redeemer.